Welcome to S3 Influence Interviews, where my mission is to introduce you to people who will have a positive impact on your practice because of their expertise, their experience, and their example of great leadership. Today, my guest is Debi Carr. Debi is a cybersecurity and crisis management consultant and speaker. She assists private practices in obtaining and maintaining HIPAA high-tech compliance, including performing risk analysis, team security training, crisis management, incident response. Welcome, Debi, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited too, and I know your schedule's so busy, thus you are meeting us from your car. I was at your
portable office.
There you go. There you go. I live in mine a lot too, so I know how that goes. I was at your conference in Savannah, Georgia in January, and I learned so much. You specialize in healthcare security and privacy, but it gave me pause for a moment as a business owner, how important it is to care for your clients' data and to protect yourself. So I think that this information really can apply to everyone, or at least give them pause to think. But one of the things
absolutely applies to every business that is in existence.
Yes. So hopefully lots of people will get some airtime on this. One of the things that I heard you say at your conference is that IT is not cybersecurity. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure, yes. So IT is just that. Their job is to take care of the information system, which is your hardware and your software. But that is the extent of how and we're always glad when they are invoking good cybersecurity hygiene and good cybersecurity practices. But true cybersecurity is a business decision. It's not an IT decision. Mm-hmm. And there's really not an IT company out there that can make you, one, cyber secure or HIPAA compliant, because it's the culture that you establish in your practice. It's what you're doing in your practice. And it has to be from the top. It has to be from the doctor on down. It cannot be from the IT on up.
I'm glad you said that, because I talk about culture a lot, as you know, and that references different things, but ultimately culture is what you do as a regular part of your existence in your practice. And so
correct.
It doesn't matter whether it's leadership or, and the culture you have among your team, or how your operations run. When they're a part of your culture, you're just paying much better attention to all of those bits and pieces, right?
Right, exactly. And it's so critical, especially in the landscape that we're in, that we have an ongoing security program. And again, I can put all the technical controls in place, but it's the end user that is going to be, in most cases, it is the end user that is our vector that allows a threat actor into a system. And it's also the end user that can detect when there's an issue, and they have to be educated what to look for.
And that includes the whole team, because the end user can be different people in the
practice. Whole team. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So you often say it's not if you have a breach, but when you have a breach. Correct. So tell me a little bit about the different types of breaches.
Well, a breach is in any unauthorized viewing, use, acquisition of data. So technically, handing the wrong walkout statement to someone would be considered a breach, because you're giving information about another patient to someone who's not authorized to see information on that patient. Mm-hmm. But of course, in my world, what we're talking about is threat actors or other individuals that are not necessarily in our country, accessing the system through means that is not approved. And so we want to look to see, did they actually view or look at anything when they were in the system? Where we see different types, just like we have different types of viruses in our world today. We have lots of different types of malicious viruses that attack computers. So, we see individuals that they just want to get the information. It's all about the money. So they get into the system, they drop their malicious code, and life goes on, but they don't do anything. They're maybe in the system 5 minutes. But now what we're seeing, because threat actors have gotten very smart, and they realize that we've gotten smart, that we need good backup. So now they've got to come up with another system. So what they do now is that they sit them and they watch to see what you're doing, and they are accessing that data, and that's when we have a breach. And not only are they accessing it, they're taking it, they're exfiltrating it, and they are posting it. Forget about dark web. We're now seeing it showing up on the regular web. We're having situations where patients are getting called that your doctor was hacked, he didn't pay, so now we want you to pay us.
Wow, that's scary.
It's all about the money.
Yeah, yeah. Hackers.
And that's why it's so important that we have the best practices in place to try to protect our practices, because private practices continue to be low-hanging fruit because they don't understand the safeguards and controls that they can put in place to guard against such an event.
Yeah, so one of the blogs you wrote was, and this is on your website, so we'll make sure that we give that information out. But you have a blog posted. Was there something I could have done?
Yes.
They can read that, but elaborate on that now, because I think
every single time I have a breach, the doctor or the office manager looks at me and goes, "Oh my gosh, was there something I could have done that would have stopped this from happening?" And yes, there are some controls that you can put in place that would have prevented it. It may not have prevented the intrusion, but it would have prevented it from being as involved and as bad as it is. And so it's all about the layers of security and practices. You know, we're so trusting. We trust that our IT department or our IT partner, that they're handling it all, and I don't have to do anything. Recently, I was at a meeting. It's so good to be back at meetings. I was at a meeting and I heard a cloud provider telling doctors, once you go with us, you will never, ever have to have an IT department again or a vendor again. And you don't have to worry about HIPAA. We're going to make you HIPAA compliant. That's giving a false sense of security to those doctors and to those practices, because I can tell you, just because you're cloud-based does not, A, remove you from having to be HIPAA compliant, but two, it doesn't protect you 100%. We've seen in fact, cloud-based applications continue to also be a prime target, because I'm not just taking out one practice, I'm taking out a whole bunch of them.
Right.
So, you know, it's all in the layers of security that you have in place.
Yeah, and I love that you said about the time you think that you're safe and you stop thinking about it, that's when it gets really dangerous.
And that's what threat actors like, is we get very complacent. We're very laid back. We're very lazy, and we're in a cyber war. All we can do is hopefully stay one step ahead, because as soon as, like backups, we got really good at backing up. We've got on-site, we've got off-site, we've got multiple layers, and they know that. So they're not going after that. I've had them delete backups off of every course of backup that we have. The only safe backup is the one that's not connected to the network at all. But they know that we have those backups in place. So now what they're doing, they're taking our data and they're holding that ransom. If you don't pay me, I'm going to post your data. You don't pay them, so they post your data. Guess who's trolling the internet in addition to, you and me? OCR, FBI, CISA. They have whole departments that do nothing but do that. I've seen practices where FBI has walked in and told the doctor that they are under a cyber attack, and the doctor had no clue.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it was because they found the information posted on the internet, not that the doctor knew it.
Well, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of requirements associated with that. And I heard some of them when I was at your conference. Tell our audience what working with you looks like.
Well, we start by conducting a risk analysis because we need to, well, really, we start by helping you to identify what information we need to protect, because often we all know that we need to protect our practice management. But what we forget is that there are other supportive applications that are out there. Imaging. A lot of times the imaging is tunneled into our practice management, but it also is standalone by itself. So if a hacker gets in, they don't know about that tunnel. They're not going into the practice management and opening up the chart. They're opening it directly from the database. Wow. That's on the desktop. Or, you know, we're in business. Dentists are in business. They're in the business of dentistry. And so there are those other applications that are important. Do you have QuickBooks? I had a lot of practices during COVID because everybody went home and they were using unsecure methods of tunneling into their practices. And so, and threat actors love that. So they were joining in on that as well. And they, I had their practice management back because I knew a little trick with the databases. I couldn't do anything about QuickBooks. I have a practice that paid almost $15,000 to get QuickBooks back. And she thought for $15,000, she could at least get her practice documents back. And they only gave her her QuickBooks for $15,000. If she wanted anything else, she would have to pay more. So we start by identifying what information we need to protect. And what are the processes that are critical to the operation of the practice. And then we conduct a risk analysis. So we go to your practice because we're looking at your technical controls. When we're there, we scan all of your computers because we want to know what your IT company is doing. But we also look at the physical aspects of how you're protecting your information. And a lot of times that's the area that doctors miss the most. I have a practice. You know how sometimes you're asked to send a voided check?
Right.
So the practice at one point had been asked to send a voided check, but they also wanted to instruct everybody how to properly insert a document into the copier. Guess what they were using for that instruction?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the canceled check. So we look at those physical controls that you have in place, and then we also look at your administrative controls. While we're in your practice, we do ask that you block off 2 hours of mandatory training for all team members. And it's a security awareness training. It is one of your required HIPAA training, but ultimately you're also supposed to be training your employees or your team members on your security policies. So we know that a lot of practices don't have those things in place. So we work with you over the next 12 to 18 months to implement a security management plan.
I love that. Wow, I love that. That's fantastic. So do you work across the country? I know you are a busy gal. You work nationwide, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Where are you headed to next? I know you speak as well. Do you have something coming up where?
I am so excited. I'm speaking at ADAM this year in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. So I'm thrilled to know end over that. And I believe I'm doing a little piece at a nice little thing that's happening in Charleston.
Is that? Oh, yes, indeed. Yes. On June 3rd, right? You'll be
correct.
Yes. So that is very exciting. S3 has a leadership summit June 3rd. I will also post, if you want to give me a link, Debbie, to your event in Scottsdale, if any of our audience would like to attend that, they can do that as well. I'm excited for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm excited. But yes, we do go all over the country.
Yes. Yes, you do. Okay, so what is the best way? I know you are on your way to many more things going on in your life. And so what is the best way for our audience to reach out to you, to learn from you, to work with you?
The best way is we are passionate about educating doctors. And we love working with practices on a one-on-one basis because every practice is unique and every practice has their own little idiosyncrasies that are good, that are bad, and we enjoy working with individual practices. So the best way to reach me would be to call me, and you can reach me at 844-dkcarr1, or you can email me at info@dkcarr.com. And our website we are actually in the process of working on is www.dkcarr.com.
Very good.
And either myself or one.
Go ahead.
Either myself or Kate is available to help walk you through and help get started.
I love that. We will make sure to post all of that contact information in each of our sites so that they can have nice, easy contact with you. And I just cannot recommend you enough, Debbie. I've enjoyed learning from you as well. I appreciate you being on our podcast.
Thank you. I do want to add a couple things, if it's okay.
Please. Yes.
There has been, and I don't know if you remember this, we talked about this when you were in Savannah. That was actually what the whole course was about, was creating a safe harbor. Yes. Because the HIPAA law was amended on January 5th of 2021. And it indicates that when you have a breach, because it's a when, not an if, and you can demonstrate that you have had a approved security management plan in place for the past 12 months, it creates a safe harbor, which reduces fines, which reduces penalties. And now what we're seeing is in the appropriations bill that was signed yesterday by President Biden, there's a heavy emphasis on cybersecurity because they know, our government knows that our small businesses, including the business of dentistry, remain prime targets. Mm-hmm. And so now they are basically giving more teeth to when you have a breach and you have nothing in place. Mm-hmm. And so it's even more important that doctors take cybersecurity seriously. We're always happy to work with practices, but it has to be a team effort. And it's really critical because I can tell you a breach when it happens is a devastating event. I've had doctors almost have heart attacks over the initial trauma. We'll get you through it. It will make it so it's a little hiccup in the road, and so it's not as devastating as it seems. But there are some right choices and right decisions that must be made in the first minutes, hours when a breach is discovered, or when a security incident is discovered, that requires that you take the right steps. Otherwise, not only are you looking at the damages that come from OCR because it's patient information, but all 50 states also have laws in place, and those can be damaging as well. So it's really important that when you are hit with ransomware or you have a cyber incident, that you work with someone who knows the ins and outs, knows what is required, and can walk you through and hold your hand through that event.
Yeah, absolutely. That goes back to that question, what could I have done? So many things. First of all, get that analysis, figure out what you are protecting, what is a potential for breach, and then training your team. Love that. But then that protection of working with you over a period of time and having that system in place, that safe harbor you're talking about, it just seems like a no-brainer to me. I feel like the second anyone hears this, they're just going to want to engage, because it is a scary world in the cyber world.
Yes, it is. And it should be a no-brainer, but unfortunately, doctors don't see cybersecurity as a primary focus, and it's an afterthought. And sadly, in many, many cases, it is an afterthought after they've had a security incident that was avoidable.
Well, if you're that person who hasn't put something in place, if you're that dentist who has not put something in place, and you're now having an incident, a breach incident, then they better call you immediately. Like, you might be getting a phone call right now.
Well, then my phone's not ringing, but I'll answer it. Either Kate or I do try to answer our phones, because we do know the panic, and we do know the steps, and so we do try to get in there and help doctors to get through it easily.
So I have a question for you.
Let's be proactive.
Yes, please be proactive, right? That is the easiest
right.
way. You don't want to be asking that question, what could I have done? Have it in place,
right.
so that you know you're protected. I love that word, safe harbor. I love the word is a good choice of words, because why be in business if you can't have some peace of mind, right?
Right. I mean, you and I are in business. We're consultants. We have a business. I practice what I preach. Everything that I tell doctors, we have and I have a room in my home. That's my office. And so does my husband. He has his own office. And we have implemented in our home security measures because we're in business.
I literally implemented, after leaving your conference, some protocols that you had recommended for me as well, the VPN, getting some of these things in place. So thank you for that.
Good job.
I have a question for you. If you mentioned that these hackers are, holding hostage this documentation and wanting payment, what is your recommendation on that? Is it a simple answer?
It is a simple answer. Put yourself in a position where you don't have to pay the ransom, because now with what Joe Biden signed the other day, if you are hacked, you have to report within 72 hours. Okay. If you pay the ransom, you have to report within 24 hours.
Okay.
So, and it's been against the law for quite some time to even pay the ransom, because it's seen as aiding and abetting terrorists.
Right. It's a scary decision to have to make, because like you said, that initial fear and desperation mode kind of kicks in.
And you have the wrong people advising you. I mean, I've seen so many people get on Facebook, I've been hit, pay the ransom and move on. Well, that's not the position to take anymore. Call
Debbie, don't be dumb.
Yeah. Exactly.
It out.
Unfortunately, it can be very costly if you don't take the right steps.
Absolutely. Debbie, I'm so grateful you've been a part of this. Is there anything else that we should know as part of this process?
No, but I will tell you just a little teaser. I'm working on a new workshop, and it's going to be cruising to the safe harbor.
I love
So it's going to be, we're not sure yet where we're going to do it.
Okay.
It'll be another 2-day workshop. We're excited. We're looking into options.
Well, definitely let me know. I want to help you get the word out as much as possible and support your efforts and your amazing work that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate it.